Well, hi, this is Custom Works, and I'm Clint Allen. This is number 3 in our injector series, and if you are new here, come aboard, join the community, and down in the description below, we have made it very easy for you. We have all of our video listings down in the description. Our almost complete finished of all the sensors on a 7.3, our Tech Talk videos, our normal tech videos, and our controversial debunking videos. All down below in the description, easy for you to find, and there's even more in our video catalog on our main page. We're going to be talking and showing in this video the breakdown of an injector. Now, if you've never worked on injectors, or even if you're experienced, go back and see video number 2 and video number 1. I need you to understand how these injectors work, how they function, what is involved. Video number 2 especially will show you the actual operation of what happens as the injector is functioning. Very critical for you to understand everything. Plus, you'll be able to have a much better understanding when I start breaking down in this video the injector. Now, I'm going to be also covering in this video common mistakes. The injectors that we're going to be working on came out of my demonstration motor that I bought a few years back. These injectors, the previous owner of the engine had said were rebuilt. I can tell you right off the bat, this is a piss poor rebuild, and I'll point out the whats and the whys of that. So stick around. All right, before we get started breaking this down, we're going to be covering several things here. So it's not like you're going to learn and it's only about taking apart this injector. That's only a small part of this story here. First thing, right here, I want you to go get some non-marring picks. This will be in the description. Now, I don't care if you get it out of the description. I don't care if you run down to your local automotive store, your local box store, I don't care. The whole concept here is to get some non-marring picks. We do not, under any circumstances, when we're pulling off these O-rings that are inside the barrels and on the outside here, we do not want to scratch the inside. You're guaranteed that it will leak in the future, and it will not take long. If you scratch the inside, you're going to be destined to have an issue. Next on the list, I'm going to tell you certain tools on a need-to-know basis. Now, what I mean by that is when you order the kit for rebuilding the injector, everything that you need is normally right along with that package. Even if you have a base rebuild or you're going to be doing a performance rebuild, it's all going to be in the package for you. In the description below will not be any type of rebuild kits. As we rebuild injectors, meaning that the next video is going to be a basic standard rebuild. There I'll have a couple sources of what I believe, and if you feel differently, by all means order it from a different source. But either which way, I'm not going to lead you down a bad road of a bad rebuild kit, which is on here, by the way. I'm going to also point out a few items in here that are done wrong. So let's dig into this. In the kit, once again, you're going to receive this bit that you need to remove these screws here. These are solenoid screws. We have a grand total of 4 of them. Underneath no circumstances are we going to use air tools, impacts, drills, electric tools. This is all done by hand. We cannot be over torquing anything. It'll end up busting one of the screws or bolts. This is a bad idea. It's not like we have to take apart a whole engine here. So everything by hand. So these are the first 4 screws that you remove. And we're doing surgery here. Consider this doing surgery. We want a clean area. Getting a little bit of sand, a little bit of metal shavings, even on a micro level, is going to cause you to have an issue. Everything has got to be clean. And we're going to lay everything out. If you're a first timer, we're going to lay everything out just the way we took it off. Even though every rebuild kit, you're going to receive a simple picture, a diagram of how everything comes apart. If it's your first time, once again, just lay everything out on how it came off. Now, this item right here is the solenoid. This solenoid is directional. So as you can see, this right here, which is the armature, has to line up with these on the solenoid. So we'll set that aside. This right here is directional. So we have the front, we have the top, and right here we have little holes where the oil is allowed out. And we'll get into this a little bit later on how to modify this. Next on the list here, we have the armature. In your kit, you will have the special tip in order to remove this. Use your adjustable to hold it in place. Now these aren't torqued all that heavily, so you won't need to worry about much. So we unscrew that, and we remove the armature itself and set it on down. And right here is one of the mistakes that I want to point out to you. This right here is what is called the poppet. This poppet right here is not sitting the way it should. This right here is going to cause you to have lower performance than normal with your rebuild. So if we're following along here, top, bottom, armature, hole, hole, I'll point that out again, hole, hole, and we turn this to the correct direction. And once we get it apart, you'll see there's a hole in here, there's a hole in here, hole here, hole here. Some of you have been shown or taught or seen on other videos where this is the long way. That is not the way to put it. Why? You've got the hole in the hole, and in here you got the hole in the hole. Oil comes through here, it easily escapes. And when the oil can easily escape, that means cold weather starting is going to be much more easier. Also, underneath high acceleration, as the armature goes up and down, that means that it's going to go all the way down, giving all the pressure, injecting as much fuel as possible. With it turned the other way and the oil is cool or cold, it can't come down the entire way. So tip number 1 there. Next, this tip will be in the kit. And this is the adapter. Now if yours are really tight, just go through and get yourself a socket on here, little 1/4" wrench. Most of the time they're not. There is going to be a spring underneath this. It's not like it's going to come shooting off and hit you in the lip or hit you in the face. Just be aware of it. It is going to raise up on your last screw. And there we go. So we take this off right here. So we take this off right here. I'm going to set these 4 screws aside. Now in your kit is going to be something similar to this that removes this sleeve and sleeve shim. Sleeve shim. Remember a couple videos back when I was saying that shimming these up to pop it and then shimming up the solenoid is a bad idea? I'll show you why here in just a second. So basically you would just put that in there, give her a good knock. And then this comes out right here. Let me get back to this. Inside here is an O-ring. It's a little bit of a booger to get rid of, but you just grab it with your non-marring pick. And there you go. Now in your rebuild kit, it's kind of hard to screw this up. They're all different sizes. They only go in one place. So you're not going to mess that up. Once again, keep on laying it out in the position that you took it off and lay the O-ring right next to it. And if you're unsure of yourself, just go through after you got everything disassembled here and lay down the new O-rings right where they were at. Possibly even mark it with a pen, just an idea. Most of us are confident enough to handle that. This right here is a diverter. Anybody who's new to removing injectors out of your truck, take this off so you don't break it. I built myself a special tool. I can remove the whole thing all at one time without damaging it. When we get to removing injectors and replacing cups, I'll show you that tool. It's real easy to make. So back to this right here. Might look like one piece, but actually there's 2 pieces here. This is actually how you shim up the poppet. Now number 2, now I'm going to remove the poppet from here. Here's the spring. Basic rebuild kit's not going to come with new springs. Just inspect the springs and make sure that they're not cracked or broke. Most of the time, they're not going to be. It would be my suggestion, though, to get the kit with the replacement springs. Number one thing that I find in rebuilding injectors is when we get down here, down to the fuel end of it, because of the heat of the fuel and the constant up and down, they usually crack on the edges, and that's what causes one injector kind of to run off, and then you have a little bit of a misfire, or engine runs a little bit like that. That's usually because of a cracked spring. Not all the time, okay, but most of the time. So here we got the sleeve and the poppet shim all put back together again. Here's the poppet. Notice that the poppet has a stopper right here. So when the poppet travels, it can only go so far. You can't go any further. So shimming up the solenoid makes no sense. It can't go any further. It can't hit the top unless you over shim it. Hope we brought that one home. So anyways, I will show you later on in one of the rebuild videos of what we can do with this if your armature isn't set high enough. And one of the questions that did come through a couple times was, how do you know when to shim your injectors? Well, you don't. It's a matter of, first off, if you feel you're having an injector problem where it's not idling correctly or running correctly, first off, before we grab any tools, run down, get yourself some Hot Shots stiction eliminator and some Hot Shots fuel injection for fuel cleaner, and put that in first at the recommended amount. Highest percentage of the time, it's going to take care of the problem. It's just that something was in the oil, got stuck somewhere in the poppet system, in the intensifier, and is causing an obstruction. Do that first before you consider rebuilding or tearing into anything. Number two, you have a situation where you're going to have to get some feeler gauges and simply take the valve cover off, remove your solenoid, remove the solenoid gap right here, and slide underneath. If you can get a 0.03 and a 0.04 underneath the armature and the bottom plate, you're good to go. More than likely, the injector is not the issue. Not saying that you can't have a cracked spring, but more than likely, if you can do this, the springs are not old enough to break, or the inside the O-rings are not old enough to be worn out. So that's how you check that. 0.03 and 0.04. If you get down to where it's 0.002, you might want to consider putting one shim on top of the poppet, a 0.001, putting it back together. So it measures up to 0.003 or 0.0035. I wouldn't suggest, if you're using the little shims, to go to the 0.004. It was never designed for that. It was never designed to put the shim up on top. If the poppet needs that much shimming, that means the poppet's basically shot. Now, I do have a source where I can get poppets right now. At the time of this videoing, nobody has them. They're all on back order. So when I do finally find out that they're not on back order, on one of the future videos, I will put that down into the description area. And it is what it is. You know, if a year later from now you pull up that information and it's not there, nothing I can do about it. You're just going to have to wait for it to come back into off of back order. So next thing here, we got the clamp. Clamp is directional. Just remember on how you remove stuff, even though you got a picture, I've seen people screw it up. And at this point right here, we are pretty much at the end of the oil part of the injector. And now what I'm going to do is flip it on over so everybody has a better view. Now, as far as kits, before I flip it on over. Number one, it doesn't make a difference what kit you get to hold the injector in place. They all do the same thing. Everybody's got their own proprietary system. This one right here is from Bitterroot Diesel. This I got to show you because the injector rebuild kit that I have, number one, you can't afford, and number two, it's for professionally rebuilding, and we always do it inverted. The way you're going to be doing it is just like this right here. Actually, once again, professionals do it inverted. So let's run this down tight. And at this point, I'm going to take off all of the O-rings, and the only place where you would use a wire brush or your bench mount grinder with the wire brush on it is here, and only here. Before you start working on taking it apart, either wire brush it or run it through your bench. But this is the only part right here. Do not wire brush anything else. You'll end up having a very short rebuild, if not wrecking it right off the start. This is real simple. The copper, we just run this around, make sure you don't mar anything, and then just pull it on up a little bit, little bit. Once you break it loose, then you have the copper washer. That's junk, get rid of it. Now, let's remove the O-rings. So I'm going to get underneath here, and I'm doing it this way because I want to prevent any type of scratching on here. Some people might have said on YouTube, oh, it don't make a difference. You want to buy another brand new injector, another injector because you scratched it on the inside? I know I wouldn't. Next one here, this is the important one. This one right here is one that normally blows out real quick. Now, how do I know that this is a cheap rebuild? Here's a Ford OEM. And here's the cheap one that they put on. You know, ooh, got to save a few more extra bucks and not give the people what they need. We're just going to keep on screwing them, you know. Now, how do I know that? First off, like I said, this is a Ford one. It's got this little indentation on the inside. That little indentation helps bite the wall, and when it's down inside the head, it really causes clamping force. This one right here has just got a flat inside. This was destined to fail in a very short period of time, by the way. Next, we got the ones on the bottom. First one right here. There we go. First one is a round one. Second one is a flat square. Now, a word about the metal holder. These are split right here, and they're split in order for you to be able to slide them onto the injector. Leave this one on. Do not remove it. Keep it on here. You can see right here, this is the split. This right here is always where it fails. And I'm going to show you when we do each rebuild of what to do with this. So once again, leave this on. Don't remove it. Now once again, you're going to be doing this in a different direction. I'm doing it this way so you can see. Some of you might be saying, well, geez, you're really repeating yourself a lot. I have to do it on purpose because no matter what, you'll get some person who's got a vitriol comment. Like when we work on the truck, the whole idea is when I work on the motor, so you can see, and then they always go, well, you know, of course you're working with the cab off. Of course that's gonna be easy. Yeah, well, no shit. But that way you can go back to my video and go, okay, well, that is where the bolts are. That is where everything is. It's a lot more easier to see. Instead of sitting out in the driveway with your cell phone going, oh, I'm gonna go fix a truck. Oh, we're gonna go watch my kid go driving around in the driveway with his electric car. Let me take a shoe to the woods. So anyways, some days, I know you've been there. All right, let's unscrew this. Oh, this one's on here. Oh, there we go. No, this was way over torqued. Nobody used the torque. Nobody torqued this properly. My goodness, that is way over the top. We'll be giving you the torque specs too when we put them together. Yeah, there's a problem in here, I can tell you that already. All right, nozzle nut. All right, first we got the nozzle and the tip. So, nozzle and the tip. That's what that looks like. This is where that came out of. Set that aside. Next, we have 2 alignment pins. These alignment pins are non-directional, doesn't make a difference. Next we have the sleeve spacer and the puck. If you want to know the technical name, it's a VOP shim. Set that aside. Okay, next on the list, I'm going to remove this whole stack. Just like that. Then what I have is the lift pin. I have the spring, spacer sleeve, and this is where you gotta be careful no matter which direction you go. I've got 2 alignment pins. And I got the stop plate. Real careful here. So inside the stop plate right here, we've got a ball bearing check ball, and right here we got the check plate. Really tiny little guys. Rebuild kits, you're normally going to get new check balls, but this plate right here, don't lose that. You don't get a new one of those, and you cannot buy that separately. Next we'll have the alignment pins. Boom, boom. We got the spring. Then we have the plunger. Then what sits down inside of here is the intensifier plunger. So let me loosen that up. It's always going to have some diesel fuel in it, but when you dump it out, kind of keep your finger on the edge here. Let's take a piece of wood. Tap it like that. So you can catch the edge. Now don't be bending this, but grab it with your needle nose. It's going to take a little bit of a pull, and voila. Set that aside. Next, now let me hit down on this here one more time. There's another way of doing this. Now this is from a Dremel set. You can kind of screw this down. This is where the barrel, sanding barrel goes. But you can adjust this so it's just slightly tighter. You can push it down inside of there, and then with a screwing action, pull it out. So there's another idea for you. Next we have another O-ring right here. Then down inside the barrel here is another O-ring, and this one's a bugger. You got to be able to get in there and give it a little bit of a twist, get it to curl, and then come back in with your hook. And there you go. Out she comes. Now I'll cover this on the rebuild also, but right here, this is a bear. This is a real bear. When you put it in, you got to be able to press it and then curl it and slide it on in there. Then carefully with your picks, get it back into its recess slot. So as far as cleaning goes, all right, so if I haven't made it clear enough, do not go after any part of this injector with a wire brush, with a wire wheel, or anything like that besides the tip. Basically, get yourself some gloves, get yourself a face mask, and get outside and go after it with brake clean and a plastic nylon type of brush. You don't want to scratch anything here. Now you're saving a ton of money doing this yourself. I would highly suggest running down to Harbor Freight, getting their largest, well, it's small, but getting their largest ultrasonic cleaner. I'm here to tell you that ultrasonic cleaner does a fantastic job. This got ran through a ultrasonic right here. And you go from this cruddy crappy to this absolutely fantastic, clean injector part. A lot of controversy on what to use. What I do is I just fill the ultrasonic cleaner up about halfway, little less than halfway with water. I take 2 glass jars that are meant to take heat, cur jars, canning jars, sauerkraut jars, stuff like that. I put the ZEPS industrial cleaner in there, same thing as Purple Power. I just concentrate, I just put it in there straight. Max it out on the Harbor Freight model, it goes up to 80 for heat. Just crank her up to 80, 15 minutes. You will have an absolutely fantastic clean injector. But you're not done yet. What you'll need to do is inside and any type of insert where your O-rings are going to go, get yourself some type of Q-tip and get that all cleaned out. When you look down inside here, and you're not going to see it because it's on an angle, but there's a hole that passes through here. Get down in there, get that all cleaned, or get in there with the brake clean and, you know, really get that cleaned out. Get inside where the O-ring is in here, get that all nice and cleaned out. Everything's got to be clean. After you get done cleaning with something like this or whatever you would prefer to use, everything that you use this on, hit it again with some brake clean. Get everything completely wiped off and perfectly clean, so there's nothing left that can get caught in the intensifier into any part of the injector itself. So with that being said, there's going to be a second video that's going to show this inverted on my quick tech talk, and I hope you've learned something today, and you take it easy and you have a good day.